welcome to the first episode of Frazers, Bants Brews. My name's Frazer, and
my name's Aaron.
So we're drinking a coffee today called Ugandan Ruwenzori, which is from an area called Mahango. This is a coffee that I visited last year, and kind of that was a starting point of why we set this channel up.
Yeah.
We've had a chat about this many times about we wanted to do a roastery channel about coffee and maybe talk about like little videos, and that's the main purpose of this, that we want to start a channel so we can talk about everything that we do, how we do it, and then the interesting parts about it, even look into doing brew guides as well.
Exactly.
So as far as our roles and what we play is, so as we said, my name's Frazer, and I'm the sole owner of the business. I set this up about 5.5 years ago, out of a little unit in Attercliffe, and that was probably about 150, 200 square foot unit, very, very small. And I just saw an opportunity within the market. I thought Sheffield was lacking in really good coffee. There were some people doing a great job, but as far as roasting and what was on our back door, wasn't really a great deal of options available. So I decided to open the business, built myself like a little roaster out of an old barbecue, just to kind of test the market more than anything. You've seen the roaster, well, barbecue.
Yeah, the little makeshift roaster back at home.
And yeah, that kind of, for the first 6 months of the business, that's really what I roasted coffee on, not a big commercial equipment that we use now. My role goes in it, yeah, that's predominantly my job, is I do a lot of the buying of the coffee, and I'm the roaster, effectively head roaster of this.
Yeah.
But Aaron came on board. We're getting close to 2 years now, aren't we?
Yeah, 2 years
August,
in August.
2 years in August. So you came on board after I met you in. It was
Mr. Bubbles,
Mr.
the coffee shop laundrette.
That's right. And I used to one of the customers I had, and Aaron was working there. You just come back from Derby at the time.
Yeah.
And I just saw your potential. You were really keen in coffee. You'd worked in the industry, and I got to the point where things had grown to such a point that I just could not function as a business on my own anymore. It had grown to the point that I was struggling to maintain everything. So then Aaron came on board. So
yeah. And
what would you say? You get bossed around a little bit, but what's your responsibilities within the company?
Yes, I'm mainly like the production manager of Frazer's Coffee. I do things from bagging, labelling, contacting customers, that sort of thing. I help with the production of the cold brew. Any events we do, staff training, barista training, that sort of thing. Basically anything Frazer can do except roast. That's my niche sort of learning to do at the moment. So
yeah, we're getting there. We've literally spent the last couple of weeks after our mad Christmas period. And I kind of want to be showing you how to do things, basically.
Yeah.
Because effectively you do everything I do, apart
except
from
roast.
Drive and roast, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, give it time.
Yeah.
We're going to be there this time next year. Probably
Exactly.
be a different story when we do the next.
But it's a small independent company.
Yeah.
And we
We're the definition of independent.
Yeah.
Like, there's not that many of us.
It's just yeah. So yeah, and that's kind of really it, really. So that within our role, we do a combination of different jobs, but together we produce the coffee and get that out of the door every single week. So as far as how that really works is we obviously buy coffee in, and in the last couple of years, I really wanted to move buying coffee from. So early days, I used to buy coffee from quite substantially large importers. Because effectively that was all available back then. But in the last couple of years, I've changed that to where I roast or buy green coffee from more independent or smaller family orientated sources. So that basically means if someone that lives in Brazil, Peru, Africa, Indonesia, they've got family there or friends or just a small company that are out there, and they represent them within the UK somehow, and I'll buy coffee directly through themselves that comes to the UK. So it gets stored in a separate warehouse and they send that coffee to this separate warehouse, and we'll mix a pallet of coffee from different suppliers, and that means that we're buying coffee from the people that grow it, and that's called direct trade. Now, Aaron's been involved since I started really making this movement within the industry.
Yeah.
When you first came on board, I was still buying coffee predominantly from some larger importers.
Yeah.
But now we've had a taste of like the early days. The only coffee that I really dealt with, it was like I think it was Peru. Tunky.
Yeah, that was your first.
That was the only really coffee that I was buying with it at the time.
Yeah, like your main direct.
Yeah,
that
direct trade coffee that we were getting in, and that's grown to the point now that I'd say 80% of our range is directly traded coffee. So that means that every single coffee that we buy in, we can name the person. They've come to quite a few of them have come here to the roastery, and that's really really valuable. And probably the reason why I do that. And sometimes it costs a little bit more, and there's a bit more legwork in it. It means that the coffee as a whole, it means that the people that grow the coffee, the people that do the hardest work, get paid way more than they used to. And like I know, so like I went to Uganda back in October, and I wanted to make sure that I visited the farm, like the coffee that we're drinking now. I wanted to visit the people that grew that coffee, was involved in the processing of it, everything, to really understand not just coffee, but also how valuable is direct trade. Because it's so easy to talk about it from this side, but when we speak to people and they say, oh yeah, it's this price for that, and it's a little bit more for this one, what are you paying for? Are you paying for better quality? Are you paying for better genetics? Or are you paying for better, working standards, people getting paid more money? And it turns out you're paying for all of that.
Yeah, you pay for all of that, and it's helping a family, a farm, like that may not even be able to sell like their coffee. But
it can be a combination, yeah. I've had it before where I've spoken to people and they've just gone, well, we were selling it before, or they'd be selling it as fair trade, or they'd be selling it as fair trade, or they'd be selling it as Rainforest Alliance, and that's like an organisation that you can sign up to shout about that you're working with the environment, or we're living in an EDP country, or we live in a poor area, and it allows them to put their coffee on the market and they get a fair price depending on the stock market.
Yeah.
But they have to sign up to that.
Yeah.
They have to be a member of that to get that price.
Yeah.
And if you're a small farm and you don't have that investment up front.
Yeah, you could farmers collateral, all that sort of stuff. If the season's not great, if they've lost the crop due to weather conditions, that all has an effect on their overall income.
It does. And I've never spoken to anyone that's a farmer or involved with coffee farmers that's not an issue anywhere around the world. There are a lot of other things that we'll touch into the channel that get more deeper into what affects coffee growing and everything. But the simple fact of the matter that these people grow coffee for a living. They have bills to pay in some sort of way like we would. And unless you want to pay someone UK wages, and that unless you want to pay someone a UK wage, which would mean that your coffee would be like 18 quid a cup, to make it affordable for the UK market to sustain, and for us to maintain quality, which was the main starting stone of why I did it. You also get to speak to people and say, look, we'd love to work with you, we'd love to buy the coffee, and we can alleviate the middlemen of the whole process. So generically how it works is, the way working with direct trade, is you'll go, coffee farmer has grown his crop, he'll have either cherries or green coffee, generically it's the cherries, that then gets sold to a factory or a cooperative is a lot of the words that get used a lot of the time, and then that cooperative will then sell that to buyers, and then buyers sell that to the port, and then that port then sells it to the stock market, then the stock market then resells it to a different country, to their stock market, and then that stock market then sells it to an importer.
It's just hands after hands after hands.
Yeah,
you can't keep track.
And all these people that are in the middle are businesses. Putting out all that middle group, we effectively are in contact with people that have a relationship with the cooperative side of things, or the processing factory farm. So it goes coffee farmer, cooperative, exporter, me and you, and that's it. So the difference in money that we save from doing that gets put back to the farmer and the people that do the hardest work. And even there are many examples of this, but even just from my own personal perspective, we've had Martin Rowland, who's going to be on the channel. He's involved in the coffee from Uganda.
Shout out Martin.
It was clear to see the difference that you make by giving more money to people for a better quality product. So if you say to someone, I want you to make me a better coffee, we'll pay you more for it, that's not a hard conversation to have.
No.
And if we can, and relatively, the coffee comes into us in the UK a little bit more than what me and you would buy it in from anywhere else. That means it's more sustainable. It means it's easy to trace where the coffee's come from.
Yeah.
The ethics of it are fantastic. So it's a really good relationship to have, and I think that's probably the newest baby within coffee that I've noticed. We're not the only ones that do this.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a new trend within it, and I think I won't say everybody can do this because it's quite selective. We look for graded coffee that's above a certain point, and we accommodate a side of the market that's like in between speciality and just on the fringe, just below it. That's kind of where we sit within the market. We're not purely the super highest, most expensive coffee you can get your hands on, but we're also not the cheapest. We're just somewhere in the middle, I find.
Yeah. Something that's affordable for home use as well as a business use for wholesale sort of side of things.
And you know, as many people will know, me and you accommodate Sheffield and South Yorkshire, so the ethics and the way that we buy coffee needs to kind of be relative to the area that we supply. So we supply, I think the last time I checked the numbers, it's around about 106 businesses within Sheffield and South Yorkshire that we supply,
ranging from cafes to even office blocks, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So the wider area, and let's be honest, we live in Northern England. We do not live in London.
Yeah.
While it's amazing to shout about these really cool things that we're doing, people do not want to spend £10 for a bag of coffee.
Yeah.
We've never sold a bag for that much.
No.
We could. We've definitely been offered coffee that costs that much. But in reality, we want people to enjoy nice coffee, but it needs to be affordable.
Yeah. Good coffee shouldn't have to break the bank, especially for home use.
No, proper coffee.
Yeah, proper coffee. Hashtag proper coffee.
Proper coffee. So yeah, I think that's. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that to me, I think that's. I think that having coffee that comes in at a reasonable price has the ethics behind it, and you know that without a logo or a stamp, that the ethics behind it have been bought, and it's a fair chain connection from all the way from the start to the very beginning. You can drink your coffee knowing that no one's suffering because of it.
Yeah,
I think that's amazing. There's so much to shout home about, and that's kind of what we do. That's in a nutshell, that's what we really accommodate. So we are predominantly a wholesaler.
Yeah.
We supply to quite a large amount of coffee shops within the South Yorkshire area, and they range from greasy spoons to really high-end restaurants, and then really good cafes as well. And we seem to be doing a good job.
Yeah.
People seem to really like what we're doing, and I think that's amazing. But it's very hard to come into a band where you're a wholesaler and you work with someone within Sheffield, South Yorkshire, where we don't really have the spend of other sides of the country, but it constantly shocks me when how many times have we spoke to people and they go, I can't believe that this is like £6 for the. I think you get people coming back going, that's amazing for what you're charging. That's amazing.
Yeah, and people saying, well, why aren't you charging double? No,
we don't want to.
That's not what we're about.
No,
anyone should be able to afford and enjoy good, high speciality coffee.
Yeah, I think that's the. Once I got kind of established and I started to see the market grow, and I saw people really like to see what I was doing, and then when you came on, you got even bigger and better.
Yeah.
That was clear to me that people just wanted good coffee at a reasonable price, and then everything else on top just makes it a great thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make sure that Sheffield, to begin with, but the wider area, has a great coffee scene, and there are some amazing cafes around here. There really are. I mean, we're not the leader as far as coffee cafe culture around England. We've got some really good competition as far as like Manchester, Liverpool. Even got some as far as north as Edinburgh. These are really big coffee cultured scenes, but we're definitely getting there.
Yeah,
we're definitely. I mean, even in the time that you've been on.
Yeah, I was going to say there's been a massive change, massive jump.
I mean, like your background's Costa, isn't it?
Yeah, like Costa, and then before that it was all like cocktail mixology sort of stuff. But that's how it was really my coffee starting journey. Was working for like a big chain like Costa. Yeah, and then that's when it really like hit hard about how much I was into coffee. And that's what my career and what I wanted to do with my life basically. And then that's when I discovered the real specialty market, the cool independent sort of coffee roasteries and that sort of stuff. and that's really what I wanted to focus on. Then met you, and you obviously educated me into like the direct trade sort of thing, and then that really opened my eyes to this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm working for a company that's highly focused on that. So yeah,
That's the reason why you're working, mate.
yeah, it's the reason why I'm working.
Because you get it.
Because I get it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Aaron is as involved as you could want to get, and is involved in a lot of the buying. So when we buy coffees, we have a tasting session. We will potentially open this up to the public one day. It's just hard to organise.
Here it is. We did a birthday bash.
That went phenomenally.
That went
well. We've done a
amazing.
few, but when we get round to, as we said, there's only 2 of us. It's hard to organise, but we will get round to opening the roastery for that. Working in a roastery is very different to working in an office.
Oh yeah, ridiculously. Every day is different.
Yeah,
you never
very
get the
much.
same day twice.
But you've seen different coffees come and go, and you've got some really good ones in at the minute, I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So what would you say, out of everything that we've had before and everything that we currently have, what would you say is your favourite coffee that, since you've been on board, is your favourite coffee you've tried from the roastery?
Ooh, depending on what I'd used to brew with, depending on which coffee I'd choose.
Let's because this is really hard.
Yeah, this is very difficult.
Forget brew method.
Yeah.
So not cupping, not espresso, not filter, not cafetiere, just the coffee. Because I know where you're going with it.
Yeah.
But I would just say, based on the origin or blend, what would you say is your favourite? Because I really struggle with this.
Oh, so do I. I'm gonna have to do it. The Brazilian Fazenda Bom Jesus one. That is my all-time favourite. Like Callum, you did a great job with that, by the way. It's everything my palate personally would ever want in a coffee. That is like very demerary, sugary brown sugar tasting, like that sort of sugary sweetness in a coffee without having to add any sugar or anything to your drink.
Yeah.
Like from having it black to with milk, with foam, etc., etc.
Cold brew.
Cold brew.
Yeah.
My God, that coffee in cold brew. Yeah, like all rounder for me personally, from hot coffee to cold coffee to milk to black coffee. That shines. It always is so consistent with
Callum,
me.
you were making me say that, but I just thought I'd ask you.
What about you?
So this is really hard for me, but it's between 2. I think this is probably because of I went out there. I think at the minute that's definitely high in my. But before you came on board, I used to do a blend called African King, and that was a mix of 3 different African coffees.
Yeah.
So it was a Sodoma, Yirgacheffe, and a Rwandan, and so African coffees are my favourite. It doesn't matter origin, I just like that as a country as a whole. But that blend was by far the best because it kind of had. It's hard to explain, but it had an acidity that's pleasant. So some coffees we've had in the past have got a really nice, complex flavour, but they're very, very sharp and very acidic. Yeah. And that can be very off-putting for some people. But brewed correctly, I think they're really, really nice. So I used to do a blend called African King, and that was probably, in my opinion, blending, because for me, as a roaster, that's more what I chase. And then as a single origin, I'd say Uganda. Yeah. I'm sorry, you can't pin me on one. I know, but that's the same with me. Like, if I had to choose right now, this second, like, a gun to your head, like, I know you're
straight away.
You're
but
Bom Jesus fan, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the Bom Jesus fan. Yeah, big fan. But Martin, the Ugandan is just as good as well. Like, don't think I'm picking favourite.
I've got your back.
I've got your back, bro.
So that's kind of what we do, how we do it, and we just wanted to kind of do this video to start and welcome you to our world. We intend on effectively doing these as many as we can and open up the roastery as best we can as well. So we'll show you how we make coffee, the roastery, different coffees that are going to be coming in, different brew methods potentially, and just kind of get a bit of a gauge on what we do as a company and the people that we work with. I mean, we've got it lined up that we've got Martin Rowland, who we mentioned earlier from the coffee from Uganda, that I went to go to do the origin visit with him, so we're going a lot more depth about the country and the coffee and the way it's processed in that video. And then we've got other things lined up as well. Like I said, we work with a lot of direct trade coffee companies, and we've invited a lot of them to potentially come to this interview for the channel as well. So that'll be really interesting. And yeah, so if you've got any ideas of what you want to see in the channel, by all means let us up in the comments. That'd be really helpful. And then probably the last thing I want to kind of really touch on really before we go is we have a base core of a range. So we have a few good staple coffees that we run that we're quite, I won't say famous for, but we're well known for in the area. People that know the company know us for certain coffees. They're our main staple of what we do. But we've tried, between us, we've gone for coffees that are a bit off the wall or a little bit different, definitely single origins. And our intention, especially myself, I want to try and rotate them a little bit. I don't want to just stick on those. I want to try and rotate those a little bit and kind of showcase some of the really cool coffees that are out there. So we've got a new coffee that I'd like to announce, which we're doing a new coffee from Colombia, which is called La Plan de Sos. We'll try and get the pronunciation better. It took us a while with a few of them. It takes a while. But that really was good. We'll go into a bit more depth when that arrives. We've got the original coffee that I went to go and see in Uganda while I was out there, which was a really cool visit. We'll do a separate video on that. That's arriving very shortly. I've just had confirmation that should be here in about 2 or 3 weeks. And that's it for now, but when we do get more in, we can obviously do videos on them. But if there's any origins that you want to see on the channel highlighted, things that you want, maybe countries that you've never heard of that you want to see as source, by all means let us know. That's definitely what we enjoy doing. And we
give us some extra work to do on the channel as well as
I definitely wanted to put out there that we've got 2 coffees on the way, and if you've got any suggestions on what coffee countries that you want to see as single origins, by all means let us know.
Subscribe, keep an eye on the channel and see all the new things that arrive and all that bits and bobs, and
So we just want to say thank you for watching the video, and me and Aaron just like to say thanks for watching Frazers, Bants Brews.
Nice. Yeah, sort of that one, right?
I'm happy with that.